The following program is brought to you with limited commercial interruption.
Today's broadcast is being simulcast in broken English.
I'm here to show the world. I'm here to show the world.
Welcome to the show that we're doing right now.
What the hell are we doing on this show?
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
Let's go.
What is this?
Giggity, 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 goo.
Who else but
The Q.
it's showtime?
Gentlemen, let's get down to business.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Yeah, I can dig it, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Q. You're listening to the best pop culture, current events, current affairs show east or west of that Mississippi River, hailing from the great city of St. Louis and worldwide at theqnow.com. I am your host, Mark Bland. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Q. This is 105.3 FM, 1280 AM KYRO, and I am your host on this exciting. We have now gotten through the first 500 episodes of The Q. And to start off this second 500 episode run, I can't be more excited. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a dream of mine for many, many years to talk to other individuals who have similar beliefs and come from similar areas. And I couldn't have nailed it any better than the individual who is joining us today. I would love for all of you to put your hands together and please welcome to The Q for the first time a comedian extraordinaire based out of California by way of Illinois, Mr. Trevor Lewis. What's going on, Trevor Lewis?
Well, first of all, I think I have to say congratulations on 500 episodes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I don't think I've done like anything 500 in a row except like calories, maybe.
Yeah, and the craziest thing about those 500, though, Trev, is the fact that some of them are an hour long, some of them are 2 hours long, some there was like a 2-year period they're 3 hours long each. So it just depends on when you caught the show and what we were doing at the time, like, and how many, like, how if we were syndicated or not, like, yeah. So it wasn't just a 500-hour long episodes. Like, there's like. I've done 10,000 hours. Let's just say, you know, they say you have to do 10,000 hours. I probably with the Q alone, I've done 10,000 hours, like legitimate, like crazy. It's crazy to think about that, but thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're originally
I thought you were going to say like some of the episodes, they were like 15 minutes. And I was going to be like, well, I don't think that counts.
Right.
But,
some of these episodes were good. Some were bad, Mark. Like you just got to be honest with everybody and make sure that you're on the same page with them.
In the future, it'll be like, I've done like 50,000 TikToks. Like, I don't know how they're going to keep track. Those are like 30 seconds each.
Have you done TikToks? Are you a TikToker?
I'm trying so hard. I keep telling myself this.
You're trying so hard to be a young person in a young person's world when you're not a young person. I understand, Trev. Like, I'm not knocking you. I don't think you're a bad person for that. All of us have been there as we've gotten older in life. Now, let's talk a little bit about Trevor. Because, Trev, you are from a small town by Peoria, correct?
That is correct. A small town called Canton, Illinois.
Canton, Illinois, which isn't horribly far from St. Louis, Missouri. Like, it's within hours, within a few hours.
Hours of St. Louis. Its two main exports are corn and the people leaving it.
Yes, both of those things. And the people leaving it are usually probably more liberal in their stances in life, are they? What is it? Let's talk about this. What's the town of Canton, Illinois like?
Well, like many towns in this country, rural communities, it's doing great. Everything's. I don't know if you've heard.
Everything's just doing fantastic all the time.
Everything's. Yeah. I don't know if you pay attention to the news, but everything's going great these days. So
until Dan Bongino tells them otherwise, and then their town is completely destroyed, and COVID has.
Listen. People leave it because of, I mean, I'm sure political has some reason. I think the reason most people leave anywhere is, you know, they're looking for jobs, they're looking for career opportunities, and you have to go where you see opportunity, right? I mean, that's the most
I think that that's a big problem in our society in 2022. I think that the problem isn't so much that things are so different and have changed. I think actually it's the reverse. Things are very much still the same in a lot of places. You don't have a lot of opportunity in a Canton, Illinois, no more or less than a St. Louis, Missouri, depending on what you're trying to get into. And you have to go find greener pastures so that you can like flourish in this world. Like they keep requiring us to pay bills for some reason. I don't understand. I don't want to pay them. Trev doesn't want to pay them. But at the same point, here we are having to pay bills. So see, the more things change, the more they stay the exact same. A little bit, your town, small town? Are we a small towner? Is that what we're dealing with here, sir?
It's a small town. Technically, it's the largest town within its vicinity, but it's around, we're talking 20,000 people max.
Okay. So we're talking like around St. Charles where I live, like an outer edge of St. Louis. Yes, one of the municipalities might be. And that's the town you grew up in. How many people were in your graduating class in high school?
About 400.
400. Now I had 560 in mind, but hey, still 400. Not too bad. Not too bad.
It might even have been. It might even be smaller than that, but it was certainly no more than 400.
It blew my mind. It blew my wife's or my mind when my wife, who's from Wright City, Missouri, which is much smaller than Canton, Illinois. Okay, she told me there were 60 people in her graduating class. 60 people. Mind you, 20 minutes down the road, there's 700 kids in that graduating class alone.
Right.
That's the difference. Like just 20 minutes of driving down the road, and she went from 700 kids where she would have graduated to 60. That's just how these rural areas work. Now, let's talk a little bit about mom and dad. I want to get into you. I want to talk about it. Like, what's mom do? What's dad do for a living? Tell me about these people that raised a young Trev Lewis.
Sure. So my father currently is a director of nursing, so he works in the healthcare field, which is a great field to get into nowadays.
Yes, it is. It's an amazing field to be involved with at all times.
Field to be involved with. However, it has seemed
sir. Yes, and keep going.
Yes, and it is a great field to get into. However, and it's also super important. It's one of the most important, I think, careers you could ever choose.
And there's always a however in life. Keep going. Yeah.
The however is the pandemic people may have heard of by now has made it a deeply stressful situation.
Tougher.
So my father, listen, my family, we're not the most mentally stable people. We never have been. We have that
never have been. You've never been the most mentally stable people. You could have been the worst people.
I don't think we're the worst. I think, if you go back far enough in the lineage, allegedly, I have like a great grandfather who may have been a serial killer, but the subsequent generations.
Wait, he may have been a serial killer? Okay, all right. Finish up this, and we'll get to that down the road here in a little bit. Put a pin in that. That might be for a little later on in the show here. We need to talk about your serial killer grandfather, of course.
That's right.
Of course. So Dad works in healthcare. Mom works in what field? What's she do?
She's also in the public sector. She for a while she was doing like the court reporter, the people that type really fast and they have like a special keyboard and all that stuff.
I understand those people very well. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Like I talk at that speed. I don't know if I could type quite at that speed, but
you're not quite there yet, huh?
Not quite there yet, right? But I'll follow Mom's footsteps. I don't know. And so she still works within like law offices and that sort of thing. So neither of them super exciting necessarily, but somehow created this ball of fire. Right?
Now, is a young Trev hitting those comedy chops? Is a young Trev touching on his comedy chops yet? Is he basically making his dad, who's coming home, not dealing with COVID masks yet in his life, making him pull his hair out with the bad jokes he's telling? His mom wanting to like literally, handle business in the bathroom because Trev's trying to make her laugh at every single fart joke that he's got. Like what's a young Trev like for these people?
Well, I'll tell you, I think I'm one of the very few, 12-year-olds in the mid 2000s, 2010s that had box sets of Johnny Carson in his bedroom still.
Johnny Carson, you're a Johnny Carson fan.
Yeah, people who were not really on television.
You know that's a good sign, though, right? Up front, that's a good sign in the business. Although, think about it. If you ask Jimmy Kimmel, he's going to tell you about his David Letterman stuff or Howard Stern stuff. if you ask any, like a Jimmy Fallon, he's going to tell you about trying to pretend to be like Jay Leno when he was a kid and things like these are the things that those people, or the Johnny Carson love. Like, these people tend to be like that. And if you talk to Craig Kilborn and you talk to Conan O'Brien, a lot of those guys also were big fans of other television show hosts. And I was a Carson fan. I liked them all for different reasons. I liked the Little Letterman for his styles. I liked the Little Leno. I liked a little bit of everybody. Like Leno, it was never about the on-stage interviews. And to Leno, like, he always wanted to be like, it's the monologue. No. Leno, where you really nailed it is the people on the street segments. Like, where you went out and did the people on the street, that's where we all were like, whoa. Like, this dude's great. Like Billy on the street, right? Like Billy Eichner, like running up to people. Like, if he went and just did straight stand up, we would all be like, okay, you're funny, but that's not what we love about you. What we love is that you drag out Emma Stone, you put her in front of somebody, and then literally go, which Emma Stone movie sucks the most? And you make her watch as she finds out how bad her movies suck to other people. That's funny. That's why we love a Billy. That's what I'm saying. Like, you're finding your spot, Trev. You're finding your spot. It's okay. Before you know it, you're going to be on at 10:30 our time. You remember growing up. 10:30, that's Central Standard Time, because right after the news, it can't be. Have you ever thought about you know what? Let's talk. All right. I was trying to ask about a young Trev. I'm going to get into a million other things.
Sure.
Young Trevor. Let me get back on track. Young Trevor. What's he like? Cracking people up? Going for that? He's got the Johnny Carson box sets. I heard about that.
Yes, indeed. That's a very interesting. I was cracking people. My first audience was in the classroom at school, and a lot of people go, "Oh, were you the class clown?" Right? But I always agree.
No, I wasn't. I didn't want that title.
I didn't want that title. And Conan O'Brien, whenever he's asked that question, I think his answer hits on the best. He goes, I always see the class clown as the guy that ends up in a ditch somewhere like 5 years after graduating. Like that's not a person who thrives in society typically. Whereas I was a good student. I didn't want to disrupt things too much, but I did love making people laugh. So for me, it was always about, can I make the teacher laugh as well as people my age? I wanted everybody on my side.
You want the whole room to work with you.
That's
and
right.
So then you cut these chops as a young man. Obviously, we get into middle school. The fart jokes go away a little bit. We're getting into a little bit raunchier, more direct roast style humor. That's where middle school comes in, very important. Then we reach high school. Now, by the time you get to high school, the idea of performing, does that enter into your mind at all? Have you thought about that? Where you stand in high school?
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't know that the fart jokes ever truly go away. They're always,
of course not. I still laugh at them when my son says them, and he's 10, so right. I get it. I still laugh.
They always have a place in your heart, I like to think. But yes, by the time I was a senior in high school, rather, there was a speech team, which I'm sure people heard about. In Illinois, the high school circuit in Illinois, there actually, in fact, is a category called original comedy. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, oh, it's like stand-up. No, it is perhaps the worst format anyone ever.
Is it like short form sketch style? Is that what it is?
It is like short form, one man sketch style, 7 o'clock in the morning to an empty classroom on a Saturday. And you're there, and a teacher or a janitor who's been paid $100.
It's more like giving a great speech and trying to nail funny jokes in it. I get it.
It's like characters. And so anyway, it's an insane format, and we did the best with it that we could, me and my speech coach. And I built this whole, to me, I like to think of it as it was like a Roseanne meets Ellen inspired thing. It was about me and my grandma, me trying to tell her that I'm gay, her being very confused by what that is, right? And so I built this, what I thought was very funny, very heartfelt, very real stuff, which reminded me of the
when
kind
you
of
say
subject matter.
Very real, not to cut you off.
Sure, go ahead. Cut me off.
Are you gay?
Indeed.
You are gay. Okay, so we were going for probably a time period in your life where were you open about it at that time period?
I had just it was very new for me. So even though
you were still playing around with the gray areas of life and how to whittle around this and wade through this river, which, to be honest, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute, but I want to talk to you about that. I want to talk to you about that aspect of your life, and I feel that that's important. The identity of who a person is extremely important. But anyway, continue on. You did the speech with the grandma and the whole situation.
Yes, indeed. It was. So I did the character of me, the character of Grandma, and then we threw some other characters in there. And quickly though, we got pretty good with it, and we made it all the way to sectionals. Ended up going to state for radio speaking. So like right there, double edge right there. We're doing comedy.
Boom, boom. Look at that. Look at that.
And then from there, in fact, in Peoria, Illinois, there is a jukebox comedy club run by the great Dan over there. And that was the first place I did stand-up pretty shortly after graduating high school.
So you're 18. You're 18 doing your first open mics, your first times on stage. Good experiences, bad experiences, a little bit of all. Where were we at? I know some people that just had nothing but bad experiences to the point where they got out of comedy. Like they just didn't feel that they could wear. And I have another friend of mine. He failed every single time on that stage until he finally figured out like how to template himself, right? Found his voice, like who he is, what character. Like Chris Rock, I know his name's been in the news a lot. Chris Rock doesn't hit the stage the same way Jimmy Fallon does, and doesn't talk the same way in the same temper and all that. Some people are great at telling stories. Others are great at telling one-liners. Everybody's got a little different style.
That's right. And I did the rookie mistake at the beginning when I first did stand up. I had that speech team experience, which is very, very memorized, very, very, it's structured. And with stand up, you have to leave yourself some room to feel the energy of the audience. Like if something's not working, you don't want to stick with it. You should have something else ready to go and abandon ship and just And so I was just memorizing stuff verbatim. So I would say doing these sketches at the end of high school and getting, recognized for that was one of the best experiences early on. I'm glad I had it because it gave me a taste of if this can go well, this is what it feels like. So I want to keep chasing that feeling. Stand up, a much harder beast to conquer. And the first many times I did it were, sometimes I would get some laughs, and that's actually more confusing to me because if you get 0 laughs, you go, okay, none of that worked. That abandon this garbage. Right. But if you get a lot of laughs, you're like, okay, that's great. Keep that. Use that next time. But if you're in between, that is where the real mystery lies. And I had a lot of those experiences early on. We were getting some
confusion.
laughs.
Yeah, a lot more confusion than anything else for yourself.
Right.
For yourself, because they're not giving you the responses you're thinking that you should get. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, put a pin in this. Take a break. We are going to take a break here on KYRO, and when we come back, more with Trev Lewis as well as myself here on The Q. Check out theqnow.com. Old episodes, new episodes, and everything in between. We'll be back on the show after this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Q. Mark Bland, Trev Lewis joining you today here on 1280 AM KYRO News Radio, KYRO.com. That's where you can listen to the show every single Saturday, 1 until 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you can always find us worldwide at newsradiokyro.com. Trev Lewis is here. He's talking to me about his life. He is a comedian. He is based in California, and he is homosexual. Correct. Yes, he is. He is all those things. He's all those things. And the most important one is the homosexuality, ladies and gentlemen. We have to discuss it because on these radio stations, it's important that we discuss homosexuality and pedophilia at all times. It's super important. No, it's not. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not important, although that is a correct piece of information. We learned that in the last segment about our friend Trev Lewis. And Trev, I wanted to ask you, okay? So we went through a little bit of your background, mom and dad, high school, growing up, the comedy club, starting out. But then you got a little older and you find out or realize that you might be going down a different path in life than most individuals who are men tend to go down. And I'm sure that that was very difficult for you. I'm sure that you had some feelings. We were talking about those young years. What's it like for a young Trev to be like, first off, when do you realize that you might be homosexual? Like, when does that enter into your life for the first time? Like, that you realize it?
The idea really crystallized actually around 8th grade. So we're talking the transition between middle school and high school, right?
God, that's such a rough age for that to happen at, too, because that's it makes sense because you're in the age where everybody's kind of finding who they become as far as those things in life. This doesn't necessarily present itself to a lot of kids, so there's not a lot of kids to talk to about it. There's not a lot of people that you want to talk to about it, and you're really kind of, especially in a rural area, you're probably a little afraid to discuss
There's a layer
it.
to my life that even most gay people don't go through, which is around the time that I started realizing, these things about myself.
Yes.
I, in fact, found out that my father is also gay.
Really? So
indeed.
So married to your mom, they have you. Are you now? You didn't say if you had any brothers or sisters.
They had 3 kids. I have 2 sisters and me. He's very bad at being gay.
Okay. So, yeah, he's very bad at being gay. That's a great joke you and your dad can share. Like Dad, that's you're the worst gay man I've ever met in my life. You had 3 kids. You were married to a white woman. Like, it's just,
that's right.
It's literally the opposite of everything gay. Like, just screaming that. Okay.
Literally.
No, that's good. That's good, though.
Well,
so,
either he's really bad at being gay or he's just great at being in the closet. Either way.
Okay, now. Is your dad in the closet currently? Is he gay? Is he not gay? Like, what's the current standing on your father? Are they married? They not married? Like, that's going to help us figure out more of these sections of the story.
Let's out him on the show right now. Let's out my father.
I don't want to do that to that. If that's not his business, and like I didn't know if it was something that's well known or open or
he is indeed. He's openly gay now.
Now he's not married to your mother currently any further.
No, that was a bit of an obstacle. The
I'm sure it was. I'm sure that conversation the first time he brought that up after 3 kids and years of marriage was, hey, by the way, you know how we talk about everything? Here's something that that time. Remember there was the lump that was on Trev's wheat? Yeah, that like doesn't even touch where I'm getting ready to go. And like she's just like, we know everything about everything. This is really odd. Like, I can only imagine your mom's, but to digress, I brought that up for a reason. It wasn't to, talk about your dad. This was more to discuss the idea that at a certain time, you're coming into these feelings, these understandings about yourself and your own life and who you are. And you don't realize this about your dad yet. So you can't confide in him. He can't confide in you or help you out. I mean, I guess he could, but you're not going to your parents about some of these things by any means whatsoever. What are you doing? What happens in your world?
That's one of the big misconceptions when I tell people, oh, yeah, also my dad's gay. They go, oh, that must have made it so much easier, right? Because you could talk to each other. But really, it's more like, you show up at a party wearing the same outfit. Like one of us needs to change. This is competition, right? This is competitive.
Except for you're old and I'm young. There's not real competition there. You know what I'm saying?
Not competition necessarily in that way, but in the spotlight, in the attention, in the who's the more dramatic story here.
Now, do you look like your dad? Does your dad have similar features?
Not at all. So I look like my mom. So we do,
okay.
Yeah.
She got red hair and a beard?
No, that's exactly right.
Maybe that's why your dad was cool with it. He's like, hey, it's great. It doesn't matter. She looks like a dude. I'm cool with that. Like, I'm just going to keep it moving. Keep it moving. And then every time a gay guy who didn't know your dad was gay came out of nowhere, he's like, hey, what's going on? Listen, Marge is fine, okay? She handles it. I'm just being honest. And she cooks meals. It's amazing. Like, it could have been, like, I understand. And so, like, being in high school, being a young man, not having anyone to confide in, and like we're joking, we're having a good time, but I'm sure that was really rough on you. I'm sure you had a lot of confusing moments and times in your life. There might have even been some young people in that school that you found interest in, but there was no way it was ever going to become something because you knew the minute you said something or went this way, it could get out. It could become a problem. They might turn it on you and come after you because they had a friend who doesn't like this or that. Like, I get it, man. I mean, I understand. I don't get it personally because I'd never dealt with that, but I'm sure a lot of people deal with similar things. I've heard these stories before. So it had to be really confusing for you at that time period in your life to deal with those things.
Yes, extremely confusing. I mean, it really changes the dynamic of a childhood. Most kids my age are worried about like homework, test scores, and I'm like,
And how old are you, Trev? Just so I could ask on behalf of the show.
Sure, yeah. Currently, I am 26.
So you're 26 years old. So we're talking 15 years ago. We're talking to 07, 08, 09, 2010-ish time periods. You're growing up. You're in 8th grade. You're a young man, and you're trying to figure out your life. We've got Octomom. She's running crazy around the world and taking care of like 85 babies and this, that, and the other. You made a move out to California. And I'm assuming after doing the comedy clubs for a while, dealing with being a person. Now, currently, are you in a relationship? Did you have any relationships when you were still living back in Illinois?
Yeah, I had my first relationship I ever had was also around 18. So there's a lot of first time doing comedy, first time being in a relationship. Yeah, right.
An eye opening. What year is this that we're talking? You graduate high school? What year?
2013.
So 2013. So the summer of 2013. Confusing. Interesting.
Yes.
You're excited. You're out. You're doing comedy for the first time, but you're probably getting some booze here and there. You're probably getting some. The worst is not even booze. See, people ask me about pro wrestling, and they say, "What's it like to get booed out there?" I said, "Oh, getting booed is not a big deal. Getting bood's great. When I'm out there in just my underwear, getting ready to throw another guy around, legitimately, me and Orton." Running around the roads back in the day. Literally, we had a blast. Well, the reason we did it is we loved it. But people always ask me about that, and I go, the booing's not the problem. The cheering's not the problem. The problem is when it's dead silent. The problem is when you're standing on that stage and you're 18 and it's dead silent.
Yes.
And it almost feels like, I bet, and I'm just throwing this out there, tell me if my baloney sticks to the wall, it probably almost feels like a lot the way you feel standing in front of the mirror after dealing with a major life event in regards to your homosexuality of some sort, right? The first time somebody like said no to you when you were honestly trying to be a normal gay young man trying to find another person who might be in the same vein. The first time somebody just shuts you down. The way you stand in front of that mirror to like look yourself in the eye and try to figure out what happened today, like what's going on. It's that dead silence. It's that quietness. It's what makes your head think about what is going through the minds of everybody else. And that's where you really beat yourself down. That's where you really rip your own soul out and your own heart out. That's got to be amazingly difficult to do when you're dealing with the comedy and they might be quiet on the stage that night and you're thinking about your thoughts and you're this. That wouldn't make me want to continue comedy. That would not make me want to apply my career, work on it, do the things that you did, and then eventually move out to L.A., where you're pursuing this as a life, as a dream, as something that you want to do. Like it would have, that move to L.A., was that a difficult move for you? Was that something that you had to do a lot of thinking about? Was it a big move? Or was it, no, I need to get the hell out of this town. I got to get out of here.
So I'm very glad that the way I did it, before I moved out here, I spent 3 years in Chicago first.
Okay.
And
that's a good idea, right? A big city, you're like living that daily life on your own, trying to make it. I get that.
That's right. So I'm glad I had that buffer in between, because if I had gone immediately from the hometown
culture shock.
Here, it's a shock. I mean, I grew up, not only did I grow up in that small town,
but there's more gay guys out where you're at. So that was a bonus. Like there were more gay guys in Chicago than where you lived. But my point being, there's way more gay people in LA and in San Francisco than you. So that was a bonus. That was a move up on the charts. But
well, as you explore these things, you realize that old adage of quality over quantity really rings true.
No. I bet it does. Quality over quantity probably does ring quite true.
Yes.
You're out in L.A.
Yes.
So when do you make the move to L.A.?
We made the move to L.A. I use the royal we a lot. I don't know if you noticed. I say we. It's me.
There's okay.
I moved.
You are a king in my book, so you can say we all you like, Royal.
I'm a king in somebody's book. That's what counts.
I hope I'm a king in your book, too. That's all I'm asking for. I just need to be a king in everybody's book. Okay?
Right.
20's a 20.
That's right.
I learned at the rest stop. A 20's a 20. That's all I learned. Okay.
There you go. I've lived in California for the past several years now, but specifically the LA area. I've been here just a year.
So you've been in LA for about a year.
Yep.
Price shock when you first move out there? Was there a financial price shock?
As much as
being the Illinois kid though, here in Missouri, we, as you always know, like in these other states, we have cheaper gas prices and prices for things that you can see. So Illinois going to Chicago, I bet that was a definitely price shock right there. But then to LA, I don't know where the difference in that level is. It's just that Illinois, for everybody out there listening there on 1280, everybody in Illinois pays higher rates for a lot of things because they don't have personal property tax and a lot of other things. So,
right.
I'm sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off. Go on.
No, you're good. You're good. Listen, I think honestly, the big shock came from the move to the small town to Chicago, because up to that point, I mean, I grew up on the outside of a small town. So we're talking like almost no neighbors, silence, crickets, all those
loudest things. The train coming through town once or twice a day at noon and midnight. Yeah.
Right. And so that was the big shock. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. So people truly live like this. But because I had that experience coming out to LA, I mean, it's so spread out. The weather, you can't, coming from the Midwest to over here, you really can't complain too much when the weather's nearly perfect all the time, right?
80 degrees
there's
every day and beautiful. Yeah. You don't have snowstorms. You don't have ice storms, things you grew up with. Oh, yeah. A campfire, a bonfire. Oh, yeah. That's a... You know, the thing about LA that a lot of people don't understand is out in the desert, it gets cold at night. When you get into the winter, like it gets down into the 40s. Like, yeah, they can have bonfires. They can have campfires. They're going to wear jackets. It gets cold in places other than your town. And just because they have sun all the time doesn't mean it doesn't get cold at times. Like it still does. Though one of my favorite things in the world was to watch the year they had the New Year's Day parade down in Florida around Walt Disney World. And they ended up having snow. They rarely get snow ever. Like hundreds of years could go by without snow in Florida. They just happen to have it on the day of the Thanksgiving Day parade or the New Year's Day parade or whatever down there. They're trying to sell full-size, like, winter coats, like full-out, goose-down leather coats for, like, $200 to these people for what you and me would be like, is it over? That was 10 minutes of snow. Okay, right. It'll be melted in like 13 seconds. They're like bundled up for the rest of the day in the deepest down coats they can find. It was crazy. It was funny to me.
Yeah, the classic like Midwest dude thing to do if you move out here is to see how long you can continue wearing like the tank top and the shorts, just to prove to people. Just to prove it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like, you think this is cold?
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know that you're sitting there thinking, well, Mark's talked to Trev about his life and about his sex life and about everything else that's going on in his life, but how do these two know each other? Like, where does this come from? Let me tell you, we're going to talk about that in our next segment. I was hip to our friend Trev via an internet page that became pretty popular, and Trev just happened to be the person behind that, and we are going to discuss this more on 105.3 FM, 1280 AM KYRO when we come back right after this. Heyo, welcome back to the Q. Mark Bland, joined today by Trev Lewis, and we are having a fun. You know, Trev. I am in personal. I actually have it under my personal warrant and guide. I am protecting it as we speak. I have Hunter Biden's laptop. Did you know that?
Oh my goodness.
It's me, Trev. What's up, buddy? It's me, Hunter Biden's laptop. Oh my goodness. It.
I did not.
Yeah, that's right, baby. Go ahead. You can ask me anything. I'll tell you about how many times he snorted coke off me. If we know the Pornhub song by memory. Like, I got all. Listen to that. I have memory built into me, and I almost forgot. Crazy.
Hunter Biden's laptop. As a practicing homosexual myself, what I'm very curious about.
Say that again. That last part.
A practicing homosexual.
Well, first off, I do like to swing a heavy bat, as you like to say. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not gay, bro. I'm not gay. I was there for the P-tape. I saw Trump. I saw him peeing on them girls. I like boobs. I like things. I'm just saying, I saw these things with my own eyes, okay? I've been
Wait,
in...
Hunter Biden's laptop
Yes,
was
that's
there
me.
for the Trump P-tape.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, the P-tape's a part of this. I've hung out with Vlad. I've hung out with Zelensky. I've hung out with everybody. Like, we've all gotten around. Like, when you get over to the Ukraine, bro, the game opens up. I mean, right now I don't want to be there. I could get blown up. But, hey, you know what I'm saying. Like, that's my life.
You are a very busy laptop. But what I was going to ask you is, does Hunter Biden ever swing my way?
Oh, yeah. Listen, man. This guy is really used to touching on guys. I'm just saying, like, there have been a few times the baby oil comes out. It's the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. It's a nice boat. Probably like a $30 billion yacht. Yeah. He likes, a couple back rubs. Nothing major and stuff like that. He might tickle a nipple. Hey, things happen. You
That's
understand.
amazing. Now, I want to say I felt bad for you, Hunter Biden's laptop,
Yes.
because I thought you deserved your time in the spotlight. I thought you would have been a much bigger story, but wow, they really shut
Yeah,
you
they
down.
really slept on me. I almost was like right there to be on the next big story, but then that loser Will Smith got up and slapped Chris Rock, and then it all just went away. Plus, I was discussing things with Candace and Dan Bongino the other day, because we talk all the time. They know exactly where I'm at all the time. Well, them and Alex. Alex knows where I'm at, Infowars.com. Infowars.com. Yeah, Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You're gay? I didn't even know you were gay. Listen, I know about you. I know about you from the internet, bro. See, I'm a laptop. I'm connected to my people. And I heard about you and your website, The Best and Worst of Twitter 1 and 2 and 3, and then the sports one and the other one. Oh, yeah, you get around, bro. You get around,
right.
Trev. I'm thinking big things for your laptop. Big things.
I don't get around quite as much as you do, as from the sound
No,
of it.
nobody
Yes.
gets around as much as me and Melania. Keep going. Good call.
But that's right. Well, I'm so glad. I had no idea. If I had known that Hunter Biden's laptop
Correct.
was watching what I was doing, I think I would have tried a little bit harder on the
Exactly.
content.
Yeah, you didn't realize what was going on. I hooked up with my boy Mark over here. This guy's fantastic. I'm just sitting here eating nerd ropes and watching pro wrestling every week. Like, it's fantastic. Sometimes I
You're the reason
sometimes
that
I
the
jumped
girls-
onto my Grinder account.
Oh.
I do things. I get around.
I've not seen you. We must not.
Yeah,
be in the
we're
same
not real
areas.
compatible. You know what I'm saying? I'm more of a seaport kind of guy, and you're kind of like a lightning cable. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's where we're at. All right, man, I got to get out of here. You probably need to get out of here. You probably need to get out of here. Is that what you just said to me?
Yeah, that's what I just said. You need to get out of here. Okay. I'm not going to lie to you, Trev. I didn't expect the laptop to take over. He comes on the show here and there. I picked him up from a couple of pawn shops. He was moving pawn shop to pawn shop to pawn shop to basement of a pizza place with pedophiles to pawn shop to ping pongs with pizza. Then and then they had to give him at least three lectures on like how he uses his junk, why he uses his junk, if he uses his junk, is he allowed to have his junk? Should he have junk on his laptop? It's a junk folder. Why can't I have junk? Like, it was just crazy where they were going with it. And I just took him in like a little baby, some nerd ropes, like he said, a little pro wrestling. He's been fine. Anytime you want to talk to Hunter Biden's laptop, even on your show, Trev, you just let me know. I can get Hunter Biden's laptop in contact with you anytime. And he's been a big hit. He's been a big hit here on the Q, bro. That's all I'm going to say.
That's a huge guess.
It is a huge
what
get.
I'll say about that, the pedophile pizza place. Here's what I'll say what you will.
Yeah.
They must have some really good pizza.
Yes. It was such a random place. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, before we get any deeper here, before the break, before Hunter Biden's laptop got on here and was talking, Trev loves Hunter Biden's laptop. Like, dude, when you asked him about, like, is Don Jr. and Eric and them gay, or not Don Jr. and Eric and them, we know they're gay. If it was Biden's son, Hunter, if it was Hunter, if he was gay, like, yeah, these are questions that are on people's minds. Inquiring minds want to know. That's all I'm saying. We were talking about the fact that I found out about you from your website. You have a website called Well, first off, people can follow you on Twitter at the Trev Widger Show. Is that our Trev Lewis Show?
At Trev Show. You got Twitter.
Trev Show. I'm sorry.
Show.
At Trev Show. TREV Show. SHOW. At Trev Show. That's how you can find Trev. Now, he's got his own takes on Twitter, and he has been dealing with this for years. I'm sure you started these accounts back in middle school and we're talking, like I said, you're graduating in 2013, 2014. So, like, you're on when these things are populating for the first time. The early Tea Party, back when Dana Lash and when Glenn Beck was still popular. Like, he was the guy that everybody cared about in media when it came to, like, popularity on the right side of the aisle. It was Glenn Beck. Everybody talked about Glenn Beck and Black. And that's when you probably started a lot of these accounts and got involved with a lot of this in your life. Was Twitter your first place? Was it your second place? Where did we start? And by the way, I always have to ask all my guests, what's the last social media? See, every person with their age group hits the last one that's released that they're willing to get involved with. Not that, like, you do TikTok because you do this comedy stuff and you're trying to get it on TikTok and other places. Not like that. No. I'm talking about legitimately wanting to be on social media. Tell me about all that.
Yeah, I mean, that is the struggle. Like I told you, I have a TikTok. I've published nothing to it because I'm sort of reached that cap of the last. I have Facebook was the first, like it was for many of us. That's where we've developed the best and worst of Twitter on the Facebook, right? We got all these groups going. I made a network of over 200,000 people. So I had some success there. We went to Twitter. I've had some tweets go viral across the platforms, still growing that following. But nevertheless, Twitter, I'm getting better at each day. I have a bunch of Reddit karma. I'm a Redditor, although that's more.
See, okay, all right. I need it. You're a Redditor.
Yeah,
we're gonna get into that here in a second because we're gonna, like I said, this is where the show gets fun. We're gonna start diving into other sections of your life and all this and stuff. Okay, so you got the best and worst of Twitter. You're now a Redditor too. I got issues not with Redditors. I don't have a problem with Redditors. My issue I had was with Wikipedia people. At one point, I had a Wikipedia page because it was syndicated and all this other stuff, this, that, and the other. Then people got mad because they just didn't like that I had a Wikipedia page, and they went and lied, and they took my Wikipedia page down, and now I have no recourse to get any of it back. I got banned or yelled at by the people of R Conservative, right? Obviously, right? r/conservative, probably one of your favorite places to go peruse and just see what the crazies are talking about today. Which, by the way, this show leads into Dan Bongino and shows like that. So guess what? Too bad. I'm still here on KYRO. No. I got banned. And then when I asked, what did I get banned for? They're like, well, you didn't follow the rules. Well, I went and read the rules, and nothing I did or said broke any of the rules. And when it came back to it, they were just like, just don't want to deal with you. Like, what it really came down to was, we're not going to give you a reason. We're going to say you broke a rule. There's 7 or 8 rules. Nothing of what I said or did falls into any of the rules. They tried to even give me a specific rule. Something about making money off of, like, promoting or making money or trying to make money within a Reddit or whatever like this. I was like, I made a comment about, if I can remember, like at the time, it was Hunter Biden's laptop or Hunter Biden, something that had to do with Hunter Biden. I'm like, I'm not trying to make a single dollar off this. Like, I just made a comment. If you like it, you like it. If you upvote, you upvote. If you downvote, you downvote. I don't care. Like, let me look right now. Let me see where I'm at. Here. This tells you, let's break down my Reddit karma real quick for you, bro. First off, you don't even know who I am on Reddit, and I ain't going to tell you, Trev.
Yeah, no, that's the
probably one of them bad Redditors.
It's not a website designed to be about you.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. I got 750 gold coins. Yeah, that's what I got, boy. 750 gold coins. 8.7K karma. Yeah, bro, I'm putting it down like that. Hard numbers, real Reddit action. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Before you get any deeper, as you can see, I like to play. I like to have a fun time on the radio.
Sure.
What do you Reddit, or what are you the Redditor of? Like which sections of Reddit, or like where do you kind of like lay? This is your hobbies in life. Is this where? Because that's where Reddit really comes in for a lot of people. It's their hobbies in life. It's where they like to like discuss and go and talk about things specific. So wherever you're a Redditor, I would say that's where you really like to lay your hat a little bit. So tell me about it.
This is a true fact. I recently,
yes, sir,
because not many people wanted the gig. Recently, I accepted a role as one of the moderators of the official subreddit for Morrisey.
Morrisey? Really?
Yes,
Morrisey?
Yes,
I mean, I like the Smiths. I'm cool. Like, I understand Morrisey. I grew up with the Morrisey when he was at his height of powers in the early 90s into the mid 90s. Like, I would say that Morrisey gained a little bit more cult status fan base by the late 90s into the early 2000s, and that's where you heard his name the most, was from the cult status. I never considered him cult status like the Smiths and some of the others. I think that everybody just kind of lumped a lot of them together because they all were at the same time. But I feel like he was more of a fanboy of the Smiths, or was he in the Smiths? I can't remember.
Morrisey was, he started out as the lead dude for the Smiths.
For the Smiths. Okay, he was in the Smiths, yeah. Right. But I never considered him like the Smiths, like he is. But I never considered him the Smiths because by the time I started hearing his name on college radio for the first time in the like 94, 95-ish, he's already solo. He's already on his own. He's Morrisey now. Like, that's it. That's where we got it. The other thing was, a lot of Morrisey music didn't hit the radio airwaves over here. So he didn't have a lot of his singles that were popular come out here in the United States, except for select cities. So if you were in a city that might have gotten it, like a bigger place, like a Chicago, kind of flittered out maybe down to, what's the name of your town?
Canton,
Illinois.
Yeah, I think...
I'm sorry. Chicago might flitter down to that, but out here in St. Louis, too rural, too many cows. They're not like, they don't ever care about Morrisey. So, like, it's just not hitting the radio, and if it does, it's like, this is my special B cut. Check out this Morrisey track. It's like, okay, got it, okay.
Right.
But now, like in L.A. and New York, yeah, for sure, he's going to definitely be up there. Like, LCD Sound System, same way. Love LCD Sound System. Just didn't get a lot of airplay in the United States unless you were in specific cities. And I just, here in the Midwest, centralized, as you know, I just wasn't getting a lot of that love. Maybe you were getting some of that love out of Chicago down towards you. I don't know. How far is Canton from Chicago?
About 3 hours south.
About 3 hours south. Oh, so you're in Peoria, you said, right?
Canton, just outside of Peoria, yeah.
Bloomington, Peoria, is that all the same area?
Yep.
So, wait, you said you're 3 hours south? I feel like that's like Springfield.
Well,
like Springfield, Illinois is like 3 hours south of Chicago.
Maybe we don't do it right, but I swear if we drive to Chicago, it takes 2.5, 3 hours.
Oh, I'm sure you do. Like, because not everything's got a main highway or road through a lot of those rural areas. Like, there's a lot of 2-lane Highway 15 type things.
Yeah, I'm horrible at directions for anything, by the way, so don't trust a single word I say on that issue.
No, you're fantastic, dude. You're doing great. You're doing great. You got life worked out. You're doing great. But, so, yeah, like Morrisey, I didn't get a lot of Morrisey in my life. So you're a subredditor for Morrisey, and what other subreddits? I recently
took over as a moderator for that because it wasn't. I mean, I'm a much bigger Smiths fan than Morrisey guy, but nobody else wanted the gig, and I felt like I could. I don't know. I just accepted it, and so that's a weird random fact. But mostly on Reddit, I'm there. I like to see the music trends, the music discussion, the albums that are just released. That's a great.
So you're a music guy.
What's up?
So you're a music guy.
Yes.
Well, then you can't wait until our next segment because I'm going to blow your mind. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break here on The Q. When we come back, more with our friend Trev Lewis, as well as fun, entertaining discussion and talk. We'll be back on KYRO right after this. It is Saturday, and this is The Q. My name is Mark Bland, joined today by Trev Lewis. He's hanging out with me. We've discussed things with Hunter Biden's laptop. We've talked about Reddit, which I want to get into real quick before I get into this next section, because it kind of leads, because we're talking about Reddit. So you get into the music side of the Reddit boards. What else are you a subredditor of, or is it just the Morrisey? Is it just the Smith stuff?
Well, I'll tell you, here's the thing you don't want to do. Let's say, you're like, I've been drinking coffee my whole life, but I feel like I don't really know enough about it. I want to take it to the next level. The worst thing you could do is go on Reddit and search for like coffee, because they will convince you within 15 minutes you need this multi-$100 coffee grinder. You need the there's something.
See, I don't ever get that on there, bro. Like, I don't get that feeling. Like, when I go onto Reddit, I have specific places I like to go. And I'm sure once the first few times a young person goes to Reddit, they have to figure it out, right? They kind of have to figure out the lay of the land, how these things work. And for guys like me who grew up with old bulletin board systems and BBSs and IRC chats and things like this is very simple, old bulletin board style. Like, that's all it is. It's the original bulletin board style. But for young people, it's learning about, like, if I go into a Reddit and I want to post, bro, I didn't learn that much. I'm 46. I'm that Gen X who helped create the high-speed internet so that by the time you were in middle school, Trev, like, you could enjoy it with high-speed this, and the Mark Zuckerbergs were working on that and the social media side of things. Like, I was part of that generation. I remember the old bleeps and blips from the sound of the telephone trying to log in. So if I go to post on Reddit, it's simple. I'll go and post spoilers on accident because I just don't know how to do the whole spoiler blackout thing. Like, I just don't know how to do it. I'm sitting here trying to type in Yellowstone, blah, 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 blah. And people are like, stop spoiling. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. I'm old. I'm just old. I don't know what to do.
They take that very serious.
They do. I just want all Redditors to, like, take a step back. I remember in the early days of Reddit too, the guys who ran Reddit, who started Reddit, they would actually travel around. They would go around to different cities and they would talk to people and introduce themselves, and they would have like meetups in different cities, almost like Chive does. They would have meetups for Reddit in different cities and people would get together, and that's how you got to meet the owner. And he would do a lot of different things. It was a very interesting time on the internet back in like 07.
That's a lot of neckbeards in one place.
That is a lot of neckbeards in one place. And by the way, so can I ask you this? Let's deep dive for just 1 second. What's your favorite Reddit board? Your favorite one? Okay. What's the one that you would say is definitely like your go-to beyond you Reddit, the stuff you Redditor for? Obviously, that's go-to because it's going to hit your inbox immediately. But I'm just saying, what's your personal vibe and preference?
So here's one thing people have to understand about Reddit. There's main subreddits, and then sometimes there will be satirical subreddits making fun of the other main subreddit. Those are called circle jerks. Don't think too hard about it, right?
Right. So they got meme, right? R meme, MEME, right? And then there's r/hole up, HOLUP, which is still memes, but it's satirical, making fun of these idiots within the memes. Yes.
So there is a subreddit for pop music called Pop Heads, which I enjoy. I enjoy it. Nothing against it. But then there's a satirical subreddit about the pop music community called Pop Heads Circle Jerk to make fun of that
pop heads who are circle jerking. Got it. Yeah, for sure.
And so that one is my favorite. They're so witty. They're so funny. And I'm not even like I'm not like someone who watches the E! Channel. I'm not super into celebrity gossip, but they will make jokes and know inside details about all these ridiculous pop stars, and they make me laugh constantly.
Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go in and I'm going to sort on Reddit as we speak by this year. Okay. Top this year in pop heads circle jerk.
Yes. Now, a lot of it's
so
inside
stolen tweet. The first one is questions for the culture. Maybe I do. Never ask a woman her age. Ask a man his salary. And an indie musician why their parents are named Blue and Wikipedia. Okay. I get that. Like, that makes sense to me because I know indie musicians who have like Moonlight, Sundance. Like, we know Dweezil Zappa. Look, his name's Dweezil. We know his name is Dweezil. Like, this is your dad is named Frank Zappa, but like you got Moonbeam and you got Dweezil, like all these weird names. Now your kids are gonna have weird names, all because your dad just wanted to like have a patchouli scented candle rolling at all times. Like, I don't understand. So what you don't know about me, a little bit about my background, Trev, is I used to be a president with Universal Music Group. I'm so deep into the music and hip hop side of things that I actually ended up working in country music for a while and working in pop music for a while. And you might even like this. I at one point was the United States manager for the Rednecks, who did the famous Cotton Eye Joe song. That's right.
Oh, no. Wow.
I used to be their manager. That's right. So whenever you were at the basketball stadium in Canton, or they played the Rednecks, Cotton Eye Joe, I was their manager on U.S. tours and other things like that. But that was through a side
what a
company.
Coincidence, because that is.
But I love music. That's what I was trying to get. The reason I brought all that up is I have a very deep background in music. I have a very deep understanding of it. And by the way, I was involved in a lot of big hip hop projects. There's a lot of people who bought my artist CDs and that were sitting in their cars and they listened to them in their happiest days and their saddest days. And that's the one thing I've always loved about music. Not to like put myself out there or anything like that. I do that anyway with a show like this. But my point being, I really do appreciate music and I understand all the sides of it, including the business behind it. Like for me, you ever watch the show Yellowstone? I was talking about Yellowstone. Are you ever watched the show Yellowstone?
I'm aware of it, never watched it.
What's your favorite show on TV right now? Right now. People love it when we talk about these things.
I'm into Succession right now.
Okay.
HBO show.
What else? So give me another show like Succession, down the same road. I haven't seen Succession yet.
There's Billions on Showtime.
I haven't seen Billions yet, but that's a show I've been told about 1,000 times to watch. I would assume that there are power players within those shows similar to Yellowstone. That was my world. I was one of the power brokers. I was the one who knew everybody and knew this person and that person. I knew how to get things done. I knew where to go. I knew if a song was going to work or not work. I knew, and it was not because I'm a musician, not because I play piano or violin or anything. I have an ear. I have a really fine-tuned ear, and I know that sounds cheesy to say to people. It's literally what kept my job. Literally having the ear. And I passed up on Flow Rider. Completely passed up on something that became that popular. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Sometimes it leads you astray. Sometimes you hear something else and you go, wow, I like that a lot better. And at the time, I just like this a lot better. But deep musical background. That's why I wanted to bring that up. So when you go down these roads, I get that fun, but I knew indie musicians that were trying to get record deals that I would talk to them about their backgrounds and, it's hard to break out of what I would consider this radio discussion vibe when I'm not on the radio.
Right.
It's difficult. It's difficult. So you like Pop Heads. That's one of your favorite places to go. We talked about the number one tweet of the year on that one, which, yeah, I get it. I like those things. What else? What else do you like? Is there any other places?
There's also hip-hop, the hip-hop subreddit.
Which one? Which one is your like hip hop heads, or are you going?
Actually, I can tell you, not even just hip hop, just the Kanye subreddit is hilarious.
I'm sure it is because so I famously have an interview with Kanye from 2004 that is not lost. It's in the producer's storage unit, and Tony Cabral knows who that is because he was the first guest ever on the Q 500 episodes ago, and for some reason he's never given me my Kanye West interview so I could put it out and let everybody see that this guy. But I'll tell you what's really interesting about that. Have you watched the Netflix Genius about him?
I have not watched it yet.
You need to, and the reason why is a lot of the same people he knows I knew coming up in the exact same world that he came up in. I knew a lot of the clubs, a lot of the backgrounds, we were running around at the same time with a lot of the same people. And I'll tell you, it really put into focus why the interview I did with him that day went the way it went. He was definitely on edge. But then I started once I started to watch that Genius documentary and they were going year by year and kind of breaking down the time periods of his life, I was able to go, boop, and put my little piece around where it should have been. And in that section, he's going through a lot. Like, his life is upside down. He's on the verge of super famousness. He's not trusting people now. The only person he's trusting is his mom. It was just eye-opening to me, and I was like, oh, my God. If I was in his shoes, I could see why that went that direction. Makes sense now. Before that, it had been I still haven't seen it in many, many years. Last time I saw this interview was 2004. With the first week I saw it, or a couple months later or whatever, I saw it again, and that was it. That was the last time I saw anything. What's so funny about Kanye, though? It's just they ripping into Kanye constantly. See, Reddit is a house for trolls. It's a house for trolls. I don't care what anyone says. I've been around Reddit long enough. How many years have I been on Reddit? Here, can I click my profile and find out how many years? Well, it says my cake day is 2011.
That's
but
when
that's
you were
not
there, then.
true. That's on this account.
Right.
Yeah, there was an account before this.
No, I love the Kanye subreddit because on the surface they are fans of his music, but they do when he says something ridiculous, they try to be objective about it, and sometimes, I mean, there's just a wealth of material there. It's never a dull moment in the Kanye fandom, and I love checking in on it.
I do want to ask you a serious question, though. We were talking earlier about your Facebook pages, the best and worst of Twitter, 1, 2, and 3. If you guys want to be a part of that, just go to facebook.com, right? Your Facebook page.
Facebook.com/Trev Show will also take you to the
There you go. Facebook.com/Trev Show, and then go like and start following it. Has there ever been a subreddit? Okay, I'm sure some of your stuff has naturally found its way to Reddit. It has to have. Yes. And you have a lot of fans on those pages. So I'm sure you got a lot of players that talk to you, as well as maybe even a few subredditors that know of you and your background. So they're in tune with you, kind of like I am, and they can hip you to things. Has there ever been a subreddit made about your stuff specifically? And then has there ever been your stuff hitting Reddit? And what was that like the first time that caught? Did it catch you off guard? Like, tell me about that first time.
Yeah, I've actually had, because of my groups on Facebook, which we focus on like tweets and stuff, I've had some of my tweets go viral on Instagram, on Facebook, and to the front page of Reddit itself.
For sure.
There's a Reddit called White People Twitter.
Oh, yeah, I love white people and black people Twitter. Okay, quick question. Black people Twitter or white people Twitter? Who do you think says the crazier things? I think it's black people Twitter, not because they're black. It's literally black people Twitter says crazier things. Like, I feel like the things they're willing to filter out and blow to each other are just way more unfiltered than the white people Twitter. White people Twitter stuff always sounds like something I've heard around a pit fire with a few Busch Light cans crushed up at some point or another. Like, I've heard those things. Black people Twitter is always like, why can't they make them look like mauve? And it's like, nobody wants pink Yeezys, bro. Like, I don't like, and they're just on it. Like, they are like, pink Yeezys would be amazing. And like, no one's saying things like that over on white people Twitter. It's just not happening.
I will say, I don't know about crazy, but funnier. I think black people Twitter is funnier than white people Twitter.
Sure.
It just is.
Well, okay, when I say crazier, I wasn't saying it in the idea of craziness or crazy people. I was saying crazier in the idea of more funny, outlandish, over the top.
They let loose their
more. Yeah, they let loose more. Yeah.
Absolutely. We all, on the other side of that, we kind of have, a stick up our rears a little bit. So we take ourselves too seriously at times. And white people Twitter, it can be funny, but it gets a little too like, okay, guys, calm down. We're not trying to save the world with a tweet, right? We're trying to have fun.
I think that you could probably be instrumental in helping me become the sole Redditor and top guy at was it Caged? Hold on, I gotta find it. Sorry.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I got the right name for it. Squared Circle. Because as a former professional wrestler who is connected the way I am connected to that business, I see craziness on there all the time that I'm like, no, that is not right. Okay, take this off. Like, you know, when the crazy people come into the comedian section of Reddit and they start talking about their stand-up and how to handle it, and you're like, no, somebody who's been doing this for 5+ years is never going to do what you just posted for the last 20 minutes with 6 paragraphs. They're just not going to do it. You're crazy. Work on your routine. Same thing with Squared Circle. I go, that's not how Vince McMahon works. That's not how WWE works. It's not how pro wrestling works. We have a brotherhood. There is a fraternity to this. You're completely off base. You're just a crazy Stan fan, right? Stan. That's what they call fans nowadays. Stans. Got it.
Stans, that's right.
Stans. Everything stands now. You and me just said that's an Eminem song. They were like, let's make that our vernacular. And it's like, correct. Everything Eminem is now your vernacular. This literally was why Idiocracy worked as a movie. He was like, I'm going to take Taco Bell and make it the global food for everybody in the movie. Yup, that's kind of how it works. Once 10 o'clock hits, the world just goes to Taco Bell. Like, I get it. So, hey, listen, Trev, I have to take a break. You're too good at what you do, is what it is. You're just too good at what you do. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have a little bit more talk with Trev Lewis. We'll be back on the queue after this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Q. Mark Bland, 1280 AM, KYRO 105.3 FM, KYRO News Radio, KYRO.com. That's where you can find all of these wonderful shows every single day of the week. You can always check me out at theqnow.com. This is The Q. We are sitting here with one Mr. Trev Lewis, who, by the way, before we even get on there, he goes, now, wait a second, Mark. Your show is actually, you know what? Let me see if I can bring back in Hunter Biden. Maybe Hunter can do you can do you. Hunter, come here for a second.
Yeah. What's up, bro? Yeah, what's up?
Do you think that you could do like the conversation between me and Trev because you were sitting there, your laptop, obviously, recording everything at all times with your microphones and tape over everything? Could you like reenact?
Sure. You want me to do the thing you guys talked about? Yeah. I can do that. It's fine. Hold on. Hey, Mark, I noticed that the Q has the letter Q. And by the way, you're on a Fox News affiliate, so obviously you must be one of these whack job conspiracy theorists, huh, Mark?
No, Trev, I'm not. I'm actually, it's a weird show that's from 2010, and then the Tea Party came and made me want to do a show, and so I did and called it The Q, and then Donald Trump ran with big gold letters and told Mexicans that he hated all of them on day one, and everybody was like, that's racist, and it seems really odd that you would do that day one, and then he just turned around for the next 5.5 years and did the same thing every single day, and they kept going, I love that, it's great.
Yeah, but wasn't he like, he was basically telling you, Mark, he was going to leave the show because he didn't want to do something with a whack job red state conspiracy theorist, right?
Yeah, he did. He said those things. And it's okay. It's okay. I don't hate Trev for it. I don't hate him. I think he's a good guy. Trev, you're a good guy, right? Would you say you're a good person?
On most days.
On most days. Do you see that?
Trev, stop it. Come on, bro. You wanted to leave the show the minute you found out it was called The Q. You had another guy waiting out in some, like, drop-top car. He was going to whisk you up the PCH. You guys were going to go on a date, touch each other, and ice cream and all of it. Stop this. I know what was going to happen, Trev.
Well, he seems to have you figured out, sir.
Well, I think he was really believable. I thought I was listening to myself for a while, and then the love story part. I think people have a hard time buying that one.
That you're
saying that's not true, bro?
I'm saying I hope to have the life you think I do, Mr. Hunter Biden's laptop. I really do.
Oh, I have a life, baby. I swear to God, I have a life. Little Coke right there.
Oh, so
Jesus.
even the laptop's doing coke.
Yeah, well, dude, when you're hanging out with Hunter and Eric and Don Jr. and all these different people and you're in pizza pong basements and like you're going to do some coke, bro. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. It's going to happen. Yeah, that's great, Hunter Biden's laptop. I appreciate you coming in and basically telling people that this never mind. We're here with Trev Lewis. He's hanging out with us, and he's talking about the best and worst of Twitter, his page that is super successful that we have on Facebook. And have you always gone after what I would... Well, okay, I know that on the best and worst of Twitter, I see stuff from both right and left. It's never just one-sided. Like I see... Now, I will say this. Obviously, and Trev might even agree with me, we see more weirdness, more craziness tend to come out of things that we see from the QAnon and these conservative-style politicians, the Lauren Boeberts, the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world. They seemed the Madison Cawthorns. Why don't you just get up and walk over and do it, Madison? Jesus. You see a lot more of that from them, and then you see like more insightful slams coming from the left. Now, I see that a lot on Best and Worst of Twitter. Do you go after that more often? Like, because I know the guy who runs Patriot Takes too. Like, and he's not a bad dude, and it's a very interesting Twitter feed. But he's always just getting like the next craziest or wildest thing that they're trying to say, and he knows it's always going to be this. He doesn't care if there's liberals who have said something crazy, right? I love the person, the girl who runs the Libs of TikTok account. That's great because she's sitting there constantly bashing gay people with like, look at what this gay person said again, and it's like, Gay people have been saying all of these things a lot for many, many decades. We just didn't record it and put it on social media in the 80s and the 90s. Like, them being gay is not mind-blowing to most people. But it seems to be a real mind blow to them. Lately, the new weirdness has come out. And I'm sure you might have seen some of this start to trickle into your pages, sir. This idea of grooming, talking about grooming and pedophilia. And I have a real problem, Trev, and I'm sure you do, with the idea that there are these people who are conservatives, and they're constantly thinking about woman's vagina, a man's member, his junk. Does he have junk? Should he use his junk? Where can he use his junk? When can he use his junk? How should he use his junk? Should he touch it? Should he play with it? Should it be this? Should it be looked at by that person of that age or this person of this age? Should this person be involved or that? It's like a lot of talking about genitalia and people using them that comes from the conservatives. I don't see this from the gays, the LGBT side of the world. And I'm not saying gays in a mean or derogatory way, homosexuals. I'll use whatever terms you want. They, them, he, him, all of them. You don't see that coming from them. You see that coming from the Madison Cawthorns. Oh, let's talk about grooming. Oh, here's Ted Cruz. He's going to talk about Mickey Mouse having sex on TV while his kids are like, why? Why do they feel like it's something to talk about? Isn't this weird, Trev? When you see these weirdnesses pop up, how do you react?
I can tell you one thing. I'm glad. I mean, it's a weird thing to say, but I'm kind of glad that the right has picked up on it, because I will tell you, for a few years there, beginning with the website Tumblr at its peak.
Okay.
There were people on the left who were throwing these words around way too liberally. They were, anytime someone you didn't like them on the internet, you throw a word like groomer, gaslighting, these
sure, yeah, I remember, like 2017, 2018, yeah.
Right, and it's no surprise to me that the right has picked up on this, because the right has always wanted to cancel things. They talk about cancel culture. I remember I grew up Pentecostal, and my whole church wanted to cancel Harry Potter.
They've been trying to cancel taxes for like a century now. Like, literally right. Their number one platform purpose is a cancellation, and they're like, it's taxes, obviously. And it's like, yeah, but man, when was the last time they knocked on your door at 8 a.m., handed you a pickaxe and said, it's your turn to get out on the road today and hammer out some of these chunks so we can fix the highway? Never in your life. That doesn't mean Trev and me think that the government doesn't take too much in taxes. Sometimes they do. Like, there really is a lot of money that we pay out as adults in taxes that we shouldn't have to, because we know it's going to a lot of places it shouldn't go to. That doesn't mean that we talk about pedophilia and focus it on grooming or anything like that. Like, that's not what we don't cut this cancellation down for that one. So anyway, you were saying the grooming, the cancellation, that the right has been doing this for years.
Yeah, so I'm glad. I always like it when the other side picks up on the same absurdity that I've seen one side doing. So now that the right wing has picked up on the phrases like grooming and accusing every single person you don't like of secretly being a pedophile, it's nice, because at least for me online in previous years, it was many people who claim to be on the left throwing around these words like grooming and gaslight and all that. So it just highlights to you that regardless, and I am a definitely a left-leaning person, but regardless of where you are on the spectrum, there are always going to be crazies. And do not let the crazies define your movement. Do not let the crazies be the loudest, because it's going to discredit everything about your entire ideology. And so, yeah, I understand people are like, gosh, they should stop throwing around the word grooming. They should stop accusing everybody of being pedophiles. But from where I'm seated, I'm glad that the right wing has picked it up now, so that people understand what a silly, stupid tactic it is to minimize such harsh things by throwing them at every single opponent you might.
No, that's fair. I understand. Trev, I recently read a post you put up.
All right.
And, one of the most favorite things on all of Reddit, because you're such a huge Reddit monster, as you said, is TLDRs. Too long didn't reads. TL/DR, right? So let me TL/DR this post, and maybe we can get the TLDR of your thoughts on this. You said Louis C.K. gets a Grammy after sexual misconduct, while Smith Weil Smith instead of Will Smith. While Smith, you said, it's okay. While Will Smith gets condemned by the industry for a slap. What's the TLDR on that one, bro?
Yeah, I loved hearing people's thoughts in the community. So I was doing a video for the YouTube channel covering these topics, and I wanted to see how people felt about that. It was a weird juxtaposition to see Will Smith getting, I guess we could call it canceled, right?
Sure.
Or slapping Chris Rock across the face, which is, a thing I think generally, especially as a comedian. I don't want people going up on stage slapping people because of a joke they don't like necessarily.
Of course, yeah.
That's a trend we want to set, at least, but nevertheless, Louis C.K., who is admitted to sexual misconduct with fellow female comedians.
Right. He was pulling his junk out and showing it to them and then doing things, right? Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
And so a guy like that getting awarded by the industry, by the entertainment industry, in the same moments where we're
Is this the
like
separation, though, of the business from the person? Like the idea of here's the business.
Is there a separation between the art and the artist, right? Which I think there is.
Okay.
I did a video on my YouTube channel. People can find it. A lot of the Louis stands, we call them, not happy because I was trying to be objective about it. And I said, what he did with the female comedians is just, I think, objectively wrong. However, I still think he's one of the funniest dudes who's ever lived. I just genuinely, I don't agree with everything he says, but as a comedian, it's hard for me to deny the talent that he has. So I try to walk that line and I go, can you appreciate his most recent special just for the material of it, as opposed to judging him as a human being? And where is the line between, do we allow someone to be submitted to the industry awards, or is there a line you cross where you can keep making stuff and publishing it to your website, but do we necessarily embrace it on a systemic level? I don't know the answer to that, and that's what I said in my video.
It's also difficult when you're dealing with a movie industry, and I dealt with this in the music industry for different things that would pop up for different artists and things like that. It's difficult in the movie industry because what he's getting awarded for is something that he did a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, when he was recording it and they were putting it down for the first time, right? It's 2 years away from the moment that he thinks his wife needs to be protected, or he needs to get up on stage to slap anyone. So he has no thought in his mind or idea at that moment that that's going to happen. And then this is the night of that moment where he gets the award. It's like there is no grace period in between. There's just 2 years of we don't know this is going to happen, and then boom, all hits at once. With Louis, you had years of people saying the stories over and over until it caught wind and became popular. And, it's really funny. I do want to ask you a simple question. We brought up Louis C.K., and famously he had his run-in and issues with Dane Cook, and famously recorded his making up with Dane Cook, or at least them working it out, live on his TV show. He wanted to do that purposely because they hadn't seen each other in all those years since that had gone down, and he wanted to record their first interaction with each other. Very genius idea, smart idea, unique. But who had the better career, honestly? Was it Dane or was it Louis? I really think it was Dane that had the better career. He's the one who played stadiums. And he did it for multiple years in a row. And I like Dane's comedy. I'm not sitting there saying that Dane Cook today is the same Dane Cook of 25 years ago. But I will say that Vicious Circle and all that stuff at that time, cutting edge. We loved it. We thought it was very funny.
Yeah, Dane Cook, did something that very few comedians do, which is his albums as a comedian sold as well as music was selling.
Right, but it was a different time period, too. It's when you still could sell those albums.
So it's a different time period. Nevertheless, he shattered records for a comedy album, which is very rare that happens. So I think indisputably Dane Cook had the better career in the 90s. However, I think Louis' material, and this is just a prediction on my part, I think as time goes forward,
will weather better.
Louis will be remembered more than Dane Cook.
Yeah, I feel that you're probably right in that. Similar situation. A lot of people don't even realize this. Yes, everybody. Adam Sandler was on Saturday Night Live. Yes. And yes, he did work with all those great people. And yes, he was very funny, but not really. See, what a lot of people don't realize is where everybody fell in love with Adam Sandler, at least I was of that age range. I was the kid who's graduating high school in the early 90s, so I'm watching Saturday Night Live on the weekends at the age of 13, 14, 15. I'm seeing these guys. I'm watching them play. I'm watching the Phil Harmons, and they're doing great, right? We got Chippendales dancers. We've got all of it. But Adam Sandler wasn't swinging it like that. Where Adam Sandler really became popular for the rest of us was his comedy album, his first comedy CD with "Where's the Snake Man" and all that stuff, and Fatty McGee and all. Like, that's where we allowed him to be funny, and we all young people fell in love with him for that CD. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to take another break here on the Q. Trev, you're just too popular. You're just too good at what you do. Okay, listen, take this break. You guys get out there, go find the best and worst of Twitter right now. Get on there, go join up, become a fan of this man. Check out the Facebook.com/Trev Show, TREVSHOW, or same thing, Trev Show on Twitter. Go follow this man. He's very funny. When we come back, we're going to do the hot seat with our guest. The first time every guest comes on the Q, they have to do the hot seat with me. We'll be back on the Q right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Q. Mark Bland and Trev Lewis joining us here. We heard from Hunter Biden's laptop a little bit earlier, and we've been talking about the internet and Facebook, and Trev's got a popular Facebook group that I want everybody to check out called The Best and Worst of Twitter. There's also The Best and Worst of Twitter Sports, and there's The Best and Worst of other things, too, I think. You probably have
Political Twitter.
Political Twitter. Yeah, you got multiple pages going. Are you running all of those pages yourself?
Indeed.
You are. Do you handle all the talk, all the information, all the background? Like, you don't have anyone moderating with you or anything?
As of right now, it is a solo show. Some of the groups are more self-running. We got a Book of Mormon soak posting. That's mostly
Dude, I just joined that. Okay,
that's
so
a fun one.
One of our most popular episodes of The Q actually came within the last 4 months, and it was the one we call the Soakening. And the reason it was is because at the time, there was a news story that I happened to catch off one of my weird news sites about this idea of soaking and how it was associated with the Mormon religion and other religious practices out there. And so I did a deep dive. Like, this is some YouTube rabbit hole, Friday night, stoned out of your mind type stuff. And I wasn't even stoned. I'm just saying, like, it's that kind of a rabbit hole. And you start going down this, you start learning about sects of religions you didn't know existed and the reasons why they do the things that they do, and it's just crazy over the top. And so yours is called what again?
It's called Book of Mormon Soak Posting.
Dude, that is hilarious. That soak idea. The idea of soaking and we couldn't, like, literally, we stopped the show mid-show and we had to, like, gather our thoughts because it made us laugh so much. And I didn't even read up or do anything until day of show so that when I hit them with it, I could enjoy the laughter that I got the first time I ran across it again. And it worked out relatively well. Yeah, man, I'm a fan. I'm just going to say I'm a fan. You're our guest here on The Q. And anybody who's a guest on The Q knows that the rule is you have to do what we call the hot seat, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. In fact, Hunter, why don't you come here and do it?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for Trev Lewis to be on the hot seat.
Thank you very much, Hunter. I appreciate that so much. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a hot seat. I am going to ask our friend Trev Lewis 5 questions. He has no idea what these questions are. He doesn't realize where they're coming from. He has no idea of what is going on in the world. And he was not prepped about this prior to this. He just knew that there was going to be a Q&A segment on the show. That's all he was told. And so now these are fresh questions off the top of his head. There's no right or wrong answers. Whatever you say is the answer you give. And so here we go. Trev Lewis, welcome to the hot seat on the Q. This first one could be tough. This first one could be very tough. What do you think is something that was acceptable 100 years ago, but just completely unacceptable today, bro? Something that was fine.
You know, for some reason, somewhere along the lines, I feel like 100 years ago, it was way more acceptable to purchase a wife with a goat. Okay. Nowadays, you can't
just go around with, because of the animal cruelty to the goat. The wife on top of it.
It's mostly about the goat.
It's about the goat mostly. Let's be honest. It's really about the goat. No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, like 100 years ago. I feel like saying the N-word in a public place, especially around a lot of white people, probably cool. Like if you walked into a diner and you got in an argument with somebody and the N-word came out, most people wouldn't like be taken aback at all. They just wouldn't be. But I think today, obviously, it would be a real like moment where everybody's kind of like wide-eyed and like crazily looking at you. But back then, nothing. But no, I totally get what you're saying, dude. I totally get what you're saying. All right, question number 2. There are a lot of video games in this world. And you know what, Trev? You've played a lot of those video games when you were growing up. And you probably, what was your favorite system? What was your favorite system?
The PlayStation 1 with Spyro the Dragon, still the peak to me.
Okay. On that PlayStation 1 or any system you choose after it, what was the game, and if you can remember, the level that literally broke you, that just, you couldn't beat it, you just kept trying and trying, and you might even waited weeks to try again. It just got so frustrating. What was it?
There is, as speaking of Spyro the Dragon,
Okay.
there is a level in Spyro 2, the second game.
The second game.
And it is known on the internet, we call it Trouble with the Trolley.
Okay.
There is this horrible bird, and you have to ride in this trolley and try to hit these targets. And I already had anger issues as a kid. That's just a thing that is true. And that level specifically, that controller witnessed a lot of abuse. I think my controller had like battered woman syndrome by the end.
Oh, yeah. The throwing of controllers that we all did as children, I probably went through 3 original Nintendo controllers. And famously, one was over the Battletoads speeder bike level, for sure. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, it was very difficult. I probably broke more over the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game on that original NES than anything else, because undoing those bombs underwater was so difficult for an 11-year-old kid, a 10-year-old kid. It was difficult.
Yeah,
and
those early games for kids, they didn't make them easy at all.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. Everybody doesn't understand this idea of like, even my daughter and my son were arguing about going into a game on their Roblox because they love Roblox and they play Roblox or Minecraft or whatever. And does that game have a save point? Okay, if it doesn't have a save thing, I don't want to play that game. Dude, Contra, you lost. You just lost. And you had to redo every single level from the beginning. There was no save point. There was literally... Here's what's really funny. A lot of people don't even understand this. Some of our earliest, what you consider codes... Yeah, the codes to get special things that all of these kids nowadays are looking for on the internet from YouTube videos and all these things, these live people on TikTok and all this... Some of our codes were just codes to get to a level. Like, it was like, hey, if you put in this code, you could get to level 7. You still had to beat the level. You could just get to the level easier that way. Like, that was it. Like, that's how cheese those early codes were. Okay, fair enough. All right. Question number 3, ladies and gentlemen, here on the hot seat. Our boy Trev is doing fantastic. I love him to death. He's doing great. What famous person's downfall are you waiting for the most?
Famous person's
Be honest.
downfall.
Is it Trump? Is
No.
it Madison
No.
Is it Madison Cawthorn trying to stand up? Your favorite
Famous person's
downfall? Think about that.
I'm really I want Ellen DeGeneres to pay for her crimes against humanity. That's what I'm waiting.
Ellen DeGeneres? The
Yes.
woman who kissed a woman on TV and it was a
Yes,
big
indeed.
deal for all of us?
Yes,
Which
I
is
think
funny because
Ellen-
that comes like 3 years after Roseanne kissed a woman for the first time on her show. And you were talking about Ellen and you were talking about Roseanne and DeGeneres and all that earlier. It's funny that you mentioned that because it was those 2 shows and those 2 people that led to that in our pop culture.
Yeah, no,
But what about Ellen DeGeneres? Please tell me. I know that she treats Andy, her sidekick, is friends with me on Twitter, and we have talked many a time about things, but I'd love to hear what reasons you have for Ellen's downfall. Aside from being a gay icon, let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I like fake feuds, so I don't actually know Ellen, but I know that a lot of people just the way they describe her is so funny to me because you would think that she's like Ellen John.
You would hope
Moon
she's the
behind
dance
scenes.
lady from her show.
She's dance lady.
She's
from her show,
not.
but behind the scenes, she's running it like North Korea based on what people describe.
It's those stern looks. Like when you see her live on her show, she gives those stern looks. I really
That's
feel
right.
like the stern look is true Ellen. Like I don't know how Portia de Rossi has a relationship with her. I'm not saying that she should or shouldn't. I'm just saying, like, they have their own relationship. Evidently, there's something that she's shown Portia that is something that Portia appreciates or loves about her. But for a lot of people, like, I get this very dismissive attitude from Ellen. I get this very dismissive. And you know what? To her defense, though, we were talking earlier, Trev, about you and your background and the things that you had to deal with growing up. I'm sure she had to deal with a lot of that stuff, too. And to become as famous as she did in Hollywood, to get to that level, it's very difficult. And at a different time in Hollywood than you're trying to make that move. You're trying to make that move now where Ellen's got her own famous show and everybody knows who she is. And RuPaul's Drag Race and all. Like, there's all these options. And, like, at her time, Queer as Folk came on the air, and it was the most groundbreaking show Showtime had ever done. And it was just about the life of gay men. And the other most popular show was on HBO, and it was The Dead Like Me, and it was because the brother was gay. And that was it. Like, that was it. That was all the gay was to the whole world for a while there.
Yeah, no, that kind of is how I feel. Like, even if...
So it had to be rough for her is what I'm saying. Like, she probably built up this Harvey Weinstein-esque, like, armor because she had no choice.
Yeah, no, if it's true that Ellen hates the world, I really don't blame her that much. I mean, if I went through what she went through at that time in comedy in like the 90s as a gay woman, I would imagine I would also be a stern and angry person. So if it's true, I kind of understand. Yeah.
Question number 4.
Yeah.
What is the most cool fun fact that you know? Just off the top of your head, a cool piece of information, a fun fact, something that
most cool
people might not know. Like, one of my favorite fun facts is lightning doesn't strike from the sky down. A lot of people don't realize because it happens so fast, we just think it looks that way. It strikes from the ground up. That's where the trigger is on the ground. So whenever it strikes, if you ever slow-mo it in video, you'll see it glow on the ground, and then you'll see it shoot up, and usually it connects in the middle with another one coming down. So Interesting, see?
The fun fact that I know off the top of my head is that because of World War II, we now have Fanta orange soda.
I learned that on the internet just a few weeks ago. Never talked about it on the show, but I'm glad you brought that up. You're right. Like, they had tried multiple flavors, and if I remember correctly, they just had too much orange flavoring left over or whatever. They wanted other flavors, so they just went with it.
Yeah, it had to do with like Coca-Cola, the factories, the shipping ingredients across, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you've ever enjoyed Fanta soda, you have Hitler to thank, is the point.
All right, last question. As a man who works in comedy, as a man who wants to do TV shows, wants to do movies, wants to be like the Marky Bland over here, which Mark Bland's not a good name. I should come up with a new name instead of Mark Bland. But that's
Mark
who I am.
Spicy.
That's my actual name. So
there you go.
What instantly ruins a movie or a show? What instantly? Think about it in the idea of TV or movies. Go down that road. It's probably better for you. What instantly ruins a show or a TV show for you immediately?
For me, it's the laugh track. It's
if you get a laugh track at all.
Yeah, when they tell me when I'm supposed. If you are funny, you don't need to tell people when they're supposed to laugh.
Okay, that's fair. Now, see, me personally, I am part of that Gen X that was desensitized to laugh tracks through 80s television because everything was there. Who's the Boss was 80s, right? I get young Leonardo DiCaprio on, what was that one? That was the one with the dad and the 3 kids and the redhead from next door. I can't remember the name of that. Hogan Family is what it came out of it, but like the show before the Hogan Family. I can't remember the name of that one. Great theme song, though. All those shows, including Roseanne and Ellen DeGeneres' original show on TV and all that, they all have laugh tracks. So I was desensitized to that. I love a good sitcom. I like a good 20 to 25 minute in and out, funny sitcom. Right now, I'm out of sitcoms. Not a knock on Mike Epps or anybody like that. I'm watching The Upshaws on Netflix. Actually, not bad. I checked out Gabriel Iglesias' TV show on there. Not bad at all. Very entertaining. I like a good sitcom because sometimes, dude, do you watch Euphoria or any of the shows like that? Can we talk about this for a second? Just for a second.
Trying. Yes, they keep trying.
Okay, can I warn you? Can I warn you? Because you're probably a lot like me. Can I warn you, Midwestern kid?
Yeah.
Euphoria, reminds me of all the stories you heard about your friends in college and all your friends in high school when you were a senior claiming that they had at every party. It's actually happening at every party in this show. But my problem with Euphoria, guys, see, I talked about Yellowstone earlier because I like Yellowstone. Kevin Costner does a great job. The storyline is really intriguing. It's the same guy who wrote Mayor of Kingstown. I really liked Mayor of Kingstown. So I went and started watching Yellowstone. I really like Yellowstone. Great drama. Good, dramatic, well-written story. My problem with Euphoria is great story. You make me want to watch you every single you want me, let me rephrase. You make me want to binge watch you. You make me want to binge watch you. Problem, you get so deep with some of your stories and the effed up, twisted stuff that you guys do on that show in Euphoria, HBO. I have to take days between watching episodes of that show because I'm processing this and this and that all happening at the same time to these 4 people or that 10 people or these 2 people. Like, it's a lot to process. Like, it's not just binge, enjoy, move on, like an episode of The Flash or some like Warner Brothers WB like CW TV show or anything like. No. This is deep. Great storytelling, an amazing show. I just finally finished season 1 after like 2 months of trying to, like, the way they like put out shows once per week now. Remember, at one point, that's the only way we could do it because we had TV. TV was just every week you got the new episode, and if you didn't record it, you lost it. You're done. And then it became binge. Binge became everything Netflix, and now everything's like back to, one at a time, like Game of Thrones did it and all that. It's like, okay, cool. I literally naturally have to once a week this show. Like, I naturally just look at it and go, nope, not tonight. Not tonight. Wait till tomorrow night. We'll see if tomorrow night's ready. It's weird, Trev. Watch yourself with that one, man. Great show. Boy, that's got a loop on it, man. It's got a hell of a loop on it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have been sitting here talking to Trev Lewis this entire show. First off, I want you to make sure that you get out there to Facebook.com, look up Trev Show, TREVSHOW, Trev Show. Look that up. Go like the best and worst of Twitter. 1, 2, 4, 10, 15, 20, all of those, as well as Sports One, the Soak Posting. We got the new Mormons that are Soak Posting show. Make sure you check that out. Follow him at Trev Show, TREVSHOW on Twitter. You can get a hold of him, talk to him. Great dude. Trevor, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being a guest here on The Q. It's always great to have new guests, new people to network with and talk with, and it was a pleasure having you on this episode.
Thank you so much for having me, and shout out to everyone down in St. Louis. I've been to St. Louis. I love it. I think it's a great city. Are you
going on any comedy tours anytime soon? Have you tried to whittle this into a comedy a way to set up comedy tours?
Because of the wonderful pandemic we've all experienced, I'm just gearing back into things. So nothing soon, but keep.
So when you come back to St. Louis area or down this way, you're going to come sit with me live. We're going to do the show live together, and we're going to have more fun.
I might do stand up again. I think there's some lounge. I've done stand up in St. Louis, so I'll be doing both.
Next time you come down this way, you let me know. I'd love to come check you out. Maybe we'll get some tickets away to the people, and we'll have you back on the show. Trev Lewis, thank you so much for taking your time out. That has been The Q for us today, ladies and gentlemen, here on 1280 AM KYR News Radio, KYR.com. Make sure you check out the theqnow.com, TheqNow.com. Old episodes, new episodes, and everything in between. That's going to do it for me and Trev Lewis. We will see you guys next time on the radio.
Told them you were living downtown, driving all the old men crazy. The boys are back in town.